Where you going? Where you going? Boo. There she is. No one's on. No one saw. What? Mana? Doopy doopy doo. Good evening. Good evening. How are we all doing? It's Wednesday. It is just after 7:30 because obviously I'm hosting and I'm late to my own stream. Why wouldn't I be? It is time for the Inquisition. Let us get some people on. I'll guest an invite. Are we going to have to do this 5 times like we always do because Instagram's stupid? Probably. Less of the Mr. M. Casey. The only people that calls me M. Casey is the bank. Don't do that. Alright, so we have a guest. That's a great start. Good evening. How did we do?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself, all good?
Yeah, grand. Absolutely grand. I'm just trying to get our co-host for the night on. But we always have this problem, if you've ever caught us, where unfortunately it takes us about 5 to 6 attempts to get
on stream.
someone in. So I've got an idea. I'm going to cancel his invite. Don't check your thing. It should work, hopefully.
I mean, yeah.
It worked, sort of. I can't see you, but I've got your audio.
I can't see him either.
I can see you, Ross, but I can't see Penge. Thank fuck.
I can't see Penge either.
That's all right.
I just see myself in just black.
That's all you need to see. That's fine. That's fine. You don't need to look at our ugly mugs. So, as I was saying, yes, good evening. It is Wednesday. It is just after 7:30. It's time for another episode of The Inquisition with today's guest, RS Miniatures. Thank you very much for coming on tonight, buddy.
No problem. Pleasure for having me, guys.
No worries at all. So, if you've seen us before, you'll always know our first question is, for anyone who doesn't follow you, who are you? And what's your hobby in?
Yeah, so I'm Ross, 28, from, I would say, sunny Glasgow. Surprisingly, it's actually sunny out here. And yeah, my main hobby is kind of 40k. Been doing it for years on and off, and wasn't until COVID that eventually get, like most people probably, get back into it, and just been going now the past kind of 4 or 5 years constantly.
Cool. And are you just restricted to painting? Do you get out there and play as well? Or
It's just more so painting for me. I've past couple of years I've been kind of leaning in towards dioramas. Obviously for the guys that maybe kind of follow me on my page, kind of like telling that story and things about what the miniatures, what's going on with the miniatures. Kind of my most recent one was obviously my Worn-Out Titan. But gaming, I've thought about it on and off, but just kind of time constraints with like work, and I can't be bothered doing things when I go home and stuff like that, girlfriend, and you know how it is sometimes. So yeah, just painting purely.
cool. And so just with that very quick rundown you've given us,
Yeah.
where you say you got back into it during COVID, like yeah, it's a very common theme across every guest that we've had. So how were you before that? How did you get into it? Was it just a casual come across?
Probably now about kind of like 13. One of my mates, he still kind of paints and stuff like that as well. Kind of actually just made the game Dawn of War. Like probably a lot of people, that's probably how they get into it. And I was like, oh, this game's amazing. And then kind of like one weekend went up to his, play a couple of games, chill out as usual, and he's like, look what I got. And I was like, oh my god, that's the Space Marines from Dawn of War. And he's like, I was in a town, walked past this company called Games Workshop, and they do these models. So I got kind of like a couple of random boxes, and we got like the Imperial Guard, and then eventually got the one with the Crash Thunderhawk, with the Tyranids versus the Ultramarines when it first came out. I can't remember what edition, but he got that at the time, and then that was me. Kind of from there, I was gripped. So obviously loved the game, and then seeing that I could actually build and create my own armies, was like, oh, that's amazing. End up spending a fortune, as you do, and then kind of fade out the hobby, and then you get back in and spend a fortune again.
Yeah, definitely. So when you obviously got, again, keeping with the got back into it in COVID theme, how did you find, having dabbled it in previously, coming back to it and seeing how, I suppose, different everything had sort of
Yeah,
changed up. You know, the
always kind of
aesthetics had changed.
had a love for it. I obviously kind of watched Valrak and stuff like that. I kind of kept up with the lore here and there, and my mate would post a couple of things. So it just kind of more so finished school, got into uni, start working. So I kind of just went to the side, but I kind of always started kind of keeping into the loop with it, seeing what was new. And then obviously the Dark Imperium box set came out, and I was like, oh my god, this looks amazing. I've got a bit more time now. COVID happened, so I had even more time. So it was weird seeing the transition from like small marines into like larger primaris, which was one thing I loved, the scale, the increased scale. I always thought like having like a tiny Imperial Guard beside a Space Marine just looked terrible, but having that increased scale at the time was like, okay, this is amazing. The new sculpts, so the Death Guard at the time were like incredible, and that was kind of me and my mate's gateway basically to kind of get back into it, because he'd kind of dropped off the sale situation with me and the half of the box set, and then that was us kind of just taking off from there. You know what I mean?
So when you first started out, what would you say? What was your first marine that you built and painted then yourself? Do you still have that marine kicking about or whatever it was?
Probably. I think my first one was actually Imperial Guard at the time. I always remember playing Dawn of War game and like not being able to really use the Imperial Guard and thinking they're pretty cool. As I said, my mate at the time got like loads of different boxes before I even got any. So I think at the time it was originally Imperial Guard. Must have been a terribly poorly painted Cadian. And then, as I'm probably going to get hate for throughout this full podcast, will be that's probably an Ultramarine that I painted at the time, because that was the first big box set with the Tyranids. I think it was at Battle of McCrag or something like that, with the crash kind of Thunderhawk parts, and yeah, so probably Cadian Imperial Guard, and then first Space Marine would have been an Ultramarine, which I'm probably going to get hate from throughout, but I'm prepared for it.
So I would say you're probably going to get a lot of hate, especially for everybody on the chat. Probably not though, but I would say I'm going to ask this question anyway because for shits and giggles. I take it you're a big Ultramarine fan because you're a die-hard Rangers fan. I take it.
No, don't be silly. No, terrible. Other side of the city. Take that back.
Don't end everyone with a minute.
Absolutely not. Kind of main reason for the Ultramarine was obviously it was the first kind of Space Marine I saw kind of built in model form, other than obviously seeing the Blood Ravens and Dawn of War. But as I kind of got older and I started looking at the Ultramarines, like I love Roman history, Roman Empire as a whole. I've got some kind of Roman miniatures that I've kind of built in my pile of shame somewhere. And seeing the association with them and like the Romans and the aesthetic of them and how they all kind of look like Roman centurions and legionnaires, and just kind of added to the fact as I got older how much I really like obviously the Ultramarines. You know what I mean? That added to that factor that I had that association with the Roman Empire and obviously the Ultramarines. You know what I mean?
So when you're doing your painting and that, would you say that you're still a Citadel man, or are you using other brands of paints that are out there? What would you be primarily using for your painting?
When it's 40k, primarily Citadel. It's just kind of what I've been used to since I've started. But when I've got to my kind of Romans, I've been more so using kind of army painter paints, which was kind of something new for me. I do obviously really like the drop box as well. I started watching a tutorial from Duncan, as probably everybody uses, and he had a really amazing like for the kind of Vitric miniature scale at 28mm, and I kind of implemented that for my larger scale Romans. And when I eventually get to my 28mm kind of Romans, I will use that. So army painter for them, kind of more so Citadel for kind of like 40k and everything else associated.
Cool. And something else that we always ask as a follow-up to the paints is the sort of equipment that you use. Are you still you just go to a DIY shop and pick up the cheap stuff, or do you sort of venture into some of the more heavily branded sort of items that are out there?
Tools, probably army painter. I've got the army painter kind of wet palette. I've got their kind of masterclass kind of brush paint set, which you get like kind of 20 paints or something. I think it was like maybe like Black Friday sale or something on Amazon. I thought, oh, why not? So all the paints and stuff that I use are army painter. I don't use Citadel. Wet palettes, army painter, and stuff like that. That's kind of the main tools I use, other than kind of also clippers and files and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of painting, army paint or paintbrushes, I think did look at kind of artist opus and stuff, but sometimes they're dead costly. I'm not that much a professional painter that I can justify kind of additional heavy costings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that I think when I first got back into it, you sort of get a little bit of interest in some of the heavier duty stuff, but the accessibility of army painter just being on Amazon,
Yeah,
you just
I can order it and it comes tomorrow. You know what I mean? Prime delivery is so much easier, and it's what I've been used to since obviously COVID, because I didn't have any materials at the time, so like everybody, you were buying hundreds of stuff from Amazon and just getting it delivered, getting decent price, and the quality for like I can remember it was like 10 paintbrushes or something. It was like 30 quid. It was like a no brainer. And ever since then, just using it. I think if I was painting more kind of consistently instead of maybe like a couple of hours a night, I'd maybe kind of venture into it if I was trying to be a bit more professional. But that's my downside, the hobby, you know what I mean? I come in from work on the computer all day, take a couple of hours aside, chill out, stick a couple of YouTube videos on and just switch off for a couple of hours and paint away, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of us that are in that bracket, so you're not alone there. I think Inferno Miniatures in our chat there was just praising your Primark work, and it's something that obviously stands out when you look through your account is the Primarks. How do you, having never taken that step myself of venturing into the Forge world, the resins and all of that sort of stuff, how have you found the difference between your bog standard plastics and your resin work?
I think that just the level of painting sometimes, I think I paint a Primark and it looks pretty good, and then I paint a plastic model, so also two totally different materials, but sometimes the quality, even just in the paint, you're using two same paints across two, it still looks a bit kind of bobbly, a bit kind of rough and stuff like that, even with kind of thinning paints down, plus you've got the extra work of kind of all the extra sanding, kind of cleaning up and stuff like that. In terms of painting, I just kind of used, again, Duncan's kind of more so basis of how you paint each kind of Horus Heresy Legion, and then put the base colours on and then just kind of adapt it like as I went, basically, so that way it wasn't as kind of overwhelming, because sometimes you see the artwork and you're like, oh fuck, that's a lot. So I kind of just broke it down into, okay, I'll just get the base colours on, follow Duncan's tutorials on how to paint like a Raven Guard, for example, right, get the base colours on, and then from there it was like details and just kind of planning as I went, basically, you know what I mean, kind of trying different things, see what kind of worked best, kind of trial and error as such, and cleaning up if possible, you know what I mean.
And I think I'm in the same sort of school as that, apart from my painting looks like a 4-year-old on it. But do you really feel that, given the way you say when you're doing your painting, you slap a couple of YouTubes on, you've constantly kept your toe in the YouTube world when you were coming in and out. Do you feel it really is a case of just trial and error? There's so many tutorials out there, so many people telling you can do this or you can do that it's just a case of looking at all the best ones and ripping what works for you.
100%. Especially when I kind of first started back in the hobby, I was looking at tutorials. There's so many, which is quite daunting when you're getting back in. So I went to kind of what I knew at the start was kind of like, okay, Duncan, he kind of breaks it all down. It's kind of relatively straightforward, because you see so many tutorials and you think, oh, that looks amazing, and the guy uses an airbrush and he uses all these different brands of paints that you've never heard of, and he uses this and he uses that. So it's all about kind of like trial and error, finding something that fits within your kind of paint range, and then you can obviously build on it from there. Something like you've got a base layer that you can work on and you can adapt as you go on. So okay, I don't have that silver, but I could try it with that silver, or I've got this red, let's try it with that and see how it works. But not pushing yourself too much, because I think sometimes what we all get is like hobbyists, we're perfectionists. We sometimes look at things and think, that looks shit, and you show something and they're like, oh my god, that looks amazing. So it's all about trying to get that balance between keeping you happy and not like over adding it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over analyze.
I mean, I will say that I am definitely not a perfectionist at all. So I mean, I'm happy if I haven't mullered it, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But what would you say?
Sometimes depending on what I'm painting, I maybe want to perfect it more. But if I'm painting just kind of a basic ultramarine or whatever, I'm like, okay, that's a decent standard. Can put it in the cabinet. Done, move on, you know. It depends what I'm painting.
Blimey, not enough to say.
I know, I just realised
so you get
something said about the subtitles. Apologies, it's like I'm from Glasgow, I talk like 100 miles an hour.
I've been doing this with Dunk for nearly a year, and every time my girlfriend hears him, she still can't understand him. So
Okay.
don't worry, you're fine. And I'm sorry about that, Dunk. I was going to tell you at some point. So I think, given your account, given what you're into your Ultramarines, your Romans, and everything. With that in mind,
Yeah.
what is the drive behind it? What is the fascination with the Romans? Because we're talking thousands of years ago, but loads of blokes wearing a bit of leather, a bit of armor, and they'd all walk into a field and maybe stab each other a bit. What is the fascination there?
I just think it's the whole history, how it started from being like literally like technically Romulus and Remus, and it just like came to conquer basically half the known world. The technology that they implemented, the tactics, and more so like the characters. Big Julius Caesar fan, hence the association with Gilliman, obviously. It's not, Romans, kind of Greeks. They're kind of like my kind of main points. Just how they expanded their technology, how they fought in battle, how they looked, the cohesion, like they look at a Roman army like matching, is just like marching. It's just like I think stunning. Creates well, which is one of my ideas to do like a kind of marching like Roman army diagram at one point. It's just everything like that, and then seeing the culture. I've been to Rome like a couple of times now, once with my mates and recently there with my girlfriend. Just seeing the city as a whole and realising like how incredible it is that these people started from nothing at that moment in time and ended up going on to conquer basically the known world at that time. Going as far up as obviously Scotland. You know what I mean? At that point I've done Hadrian's Wall, I've done the Antonine Wall, which was just up here as well. So I kind of a lot of reasons, but I grew up with kind of Total War Rome. I don't know if you're aware of that, the PC game. Grew up loving that at the same kind of time as Dawn of War, so that kind of fueled the fire as such as well, that I'm playing as this Roman army, conquering the world myself, you know what I mean?
And is it fair to say then, given that you are a bit of a fan of the Romans, you're not a fan of the mad lad Hannibal who decided to march a load of elephants over the Alps and attack from the north?
From a Roman point of view, probably not, but as a historical point of view, I think is incredible what he did carry out, like marching across the Alps with elephants and stuff like that. No one would have ever thought of that. Everybody would just laugh at that he did and think it was absolutely stupid. But the genius behind him and the victories won at like Cannae and stuff like that was amazing. To be fair, would he have conquered Rome? Probably not. He wouldn't have been able to conquer it because they wouldn't have the resources and stuff at the time because he didn't get any from Carthage. Rome could have just went behind the walls and just kind of camped out until he ran out of supplies, basically. But he is a genius at the end of the day. I think his tactics still kind of get talked about, and like today's military and stuff like that as well. So even that is like, wow, incredible.
Yeah.
So would you ever consider like doing like any like kind of Roman cosplaying and doing like mock battles or that? Have you ever thought about doing that?
I follow a couple of pages on like my other Instagram, my kind of personal Instagram that I've got like kind of history pages about the Romans, and you see some and like the cosplay is like amazing and stuff, but kind of time constraints and cost constraints and stuff at the end of the day. This is an expensive hobby as it is. And obviously, I don't know if you'll be able to see behind, but like I've got like Iron Studios and stuff like that, which is another major expensive hobby. So trying to keep my hobbies down at the moment, Dunk, but we'll see maybe in the future.
I don't think they prefer being called cosplay, do they? They prefer reenactment.
Reenactment. I'm not going to Comic Con dressed as a Roman centurion or something like that. You know what I mean?
And bollocks, man. What would you say would be your favourite kind of Roman era film? Then what would you say what would be your go-to film to watch then?
Obviously, Gladiator's got to be up there. That first initial scene of Gladiator when he's fighting the barbarians and the reenactment of it, very close historically. Gets to certain points that it's not, but from like a cinematic point of view, it's amazing. So that's got to be up there. Don't know if you guys have heard of on Netflix. There's a program called Barbarians. And it's about like the Romans getting destroyed at the Teutoburg Forest in Germany.
Okay.
And they actually speak German in it, and they actually speak like it's kind of half Latin, half Italian, so it's a lot more historically accurate. Uniforms and stuff look great, and the reenactment at the end of the first season is very good as well, because it literally details the Battle of Teutoburg and kind of different stages and shows you the lead up and stuff like that. Is very, very good. So probably one of the two. There is a lot of kind of Roman movies out there, but in terms of historical accuracy and looks, nah, they're not that great compared to kind of like Gladiator and I'd say Barbarians.
I think Ben Hur's a fucking is a great
Ben
film
Hur is
for
a
its
classic.
time.
To be fair,
Yeah,
Ben Hur is a
I mean,
classic.
like that whole naval battle and how the admiral was going to like commit harry-carry because he thought they had lost the battle when they really won. But we all know that the Romans stole a lot of their ideas from the Greeks. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the one kind of big thing about the Romans was their ships at the start of when they first started Carthage. They basically stole Carthage's idea for their ships and then went back in the Second War and used it against them and won. They were known for doing that, basically taking the idea but not just only taking the idea but also making it better. And making it Roman, as they would probably say, and it was actually their idea. But yeah, you probably got a good point there in terms of the ships and stealing things with the Greeks, and probably stole everything from everybody. They like even their armor down the lines. They end up taking implementations from like Gauls and stuff in terms of the style of the helmets for more protection, and depends where they fought in battle, what kind of equipment they would use, and kind of things like that.
And as Inferno says, Life of Brian, it's a banging Roman film.
I don't know about the historical accuracy of Life of Ryan, but that's pretty good film as well. I do like Ben Hur. To be fair, the old Spartacus movie, I can't even remember the guy's name now, but the kind of more black and white one, that's actually a very good kind of Roman-based movie as well, if you want to go far back.
And Cleopatra's pretty good as well, because that was fucking expensive back in the day as well. We one with John Collins and David Niven. No, aye, David Niven. That was that's a belter. It's basically about their love affair and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah, there is a lot, and obviously it's like kind of like World War II and stuff like that. It kind of comes in and out as like our kind of timelines and stuff. It's like you don't hear about a Roman movie for a while, and all of a sudden you get like 5, 6. You don't hear anything about World War II. You get like 5, 6 games in the one kind of go and stuff. It just depends on people's culture and kind of how time's going on. You know what I mean? The developers of games and movies, directors. So, I mean, I think Gladiator 2 is coming out this year or something like that, maybe next year. So again, we might get another couple of Roman movies after that. It just depends on society as a whole. Sometimes it kind of comes and goes a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. I'm a big like British historical buff. Like, so when I watched the Last Kingdom that was on Netflix, that was an absolutely banging show. It was like kind of explained a bit about the Vikings and how the kind of Wessex then tried to just unite the whole of the UK, and that's a brilliant show. Like,
yeah, no, it's like the Vikings as well. The Vikings TV series is brilliant. The first proper one. I think the second kind of spin-off one, I watched the first season, wasn't as great. Because obviously I think you missed the characters of like Ragnar and Rollo and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I know what you mean in terms of Last Kingdom. I've saw bits of it. I've not kind of sat and watched it full the way through. But programs like that, again, like as I was just saying, they kind of come into society and kind of come again. You get Vikings all of a sudden. There was like loads of Viking movies out at the one time. Seems to be when everybody just kind of jumps on the bandwagon when one of them's successful. You know what I mean?
Because in the TV show The Last Kingdom, a family friend of mine plays the guy Finn in it, because he's the Paisley. So there's an actual Paisley boy doing a dodgy Dublin accent in it as well, which is quite funny. Casey, over to you, mate, because I've kind of ran out of my train of thought there. Sorry.
That's all right. You're just chatting about. So, I think with going back to your minis and stuff, because we are primarily a hobby chat. We do go off the rails quite a lot. It's part of our fun, but something I'm always interested in asking people is, you've got a mate.
Yep.
He's seen your stuff. He's brand new. He wants to know what he's going to get in his hand in for, what he's up to. What bits of advice are you giving someone brand new to the hobby?
I'd probably say start small. I think my problem was when I was younger it's like we went and got that big box set and then we bought loads of other box sets, and it can become a bit overwhelming as such. I'd probably say start small, maybe get like a squad, maybe like 10 Primaris Marines and build your army up from there. or just like to start collecting box sets that GW obviously offer, because I think that's probably maybe about the right amount. You've got a decent amount of monies, you maybe get a tank or something that you can challenge yourself with building and painting, rather than going in and buying like 10 boxes of things and like it becomes overwhelming. Because I think I probably saw a couple of people on here that I said they've started early, they bought so many, got overwhelmed, and kind of was like, oh, this is too much, so they drop out the hobby. So I definitely say start small. Focus on the lore. That was kind of again my other downside of it, was that I kind of never really looked at the lore. I kind of focused on the game Dawn of War, and which was good at the time. But going forward, I'd say focus on the lore. Focus on something that really intrigues you. Like me with Ultramarines, I'm also an Ultramarine fanboy, but like focus on something that really intrigues you. What will grab your attention? Because at the end of the day, you're spending maybe an hour or 2 hours a night painting, so you want to paint something that you're enjoying. You don't want to just paint something that becomes a bit of a chore. And again, YouTube tutorials, check it, kind of basic YouTube tutorials. Do your research first. Don't get overwhelmed by scrolling through kind of like a million videos on YouTube and being like, okay, I don't have an airbrush, I don't have this paint, I don't have that paint. You know what I mean? Stick to start off small, and then you'll kind of grow from there. And that's kind of how I got back into the hobby. Was kind of, we split the Indominus box set. I had loads of time, so I was breaking it down into kind of small chunks, and then just kind of gradually building up from there. To be fair, my pile of shame's now out of control, so that's probably terrible advice. But yeah, start small, focus on something that you'll enjoy spending time on, rather than it being a chore and you finding it mundane and kind of getting bored of it and forcing your way out of the hobby because you're not enjoying it.
Cool. Now, I think this is something that's at the front of my mind at the moment. That this weekend just gone was Salute down in London. Big trade show, they called it, for just sort of wargaming as a whole.
Yeah.
The person I went with, Cattle Rabbit Rob, we were sort of having a look around. We were a couple of pints deep, which probably helped us out. But
always
we were walking around. Always helps. But what we was discovering was there was lots of stands where there were people playing different types of games. Like there was a lot of historical stuff, which looked bloody amazing. Like, I mean, there was one guy that had a board that looked like an attack on a village in Vietnam with like, he had Huey helicopters flying over and stuff. It was insane.
That's cool.
But what we sort of found was the people that were playing these games were quite introverted and into themselves and not really wanting to sort of speak to you when you approach their board and you were looking sort of interested in it. Bearing how sort of you're not playing, you're a painter. Mm-hmm. If you sort of went up to a game club in Glasgow or your local GW store and there was a game running and you were sort of interested, you wanted to sort of test the water, get involved, do you think it'd put you off that you're being ignored? You know, you've got this, you're interested in something that people are doing, but they're too in their own little world to acknowledge you. Do you think, given how much time and effort you've put into the hobby and what you're doing, that would be a bit of a kick up, well, not kick up the arse, a slap in the face almost? You can't get a foot in, you can't get involved at all.
Yeah, I'd probably say so, because I think there's obviously maybe people a bit younger that are obviously getting fresh into the hobby, so they're excited to go to these kind of conventions and all local GW, so to go in and kind of get shut down kind of puts a bit of a dent in it. You're a bit like, oh, I was like up here and all of a sudden like I'm down here of it. But in terms of, you would need to ask the person why they were obviously closed off. Maybe they're having a bad day or something. But it would, for me, especially if I was maybe a bit younger, maybe kind of first getting into the hobby, it can be overwhelming. It's something new. There's a lot of people. You're maybe a bit uncomfortable yourself. Maybe you're a bit kind of real close generally, and you want to try and. People maybe want to go and game to get friends and stuff at the end of the day. So going into these places and getting shut down, it probably can impact you. It's just maybe about trying to find that group or these people that have been in your situation previously, that will help you go and develop. I'm quite an open guy. Chat a lot of shit, as you probably can tell. So I've been more than happy. It's like I get a couple of messages asking about my dioramas. I got one recently asking about painting my bases and stuff. I think the best way to be is an open book. I think it helps the community as well. I've got like a load of people on here that I've never met before, but they're all great guys giving me loads of advice and stuff. So it's all about trying to find your own community at the end of the day. But those people shutting off, why they're shutting off, I couldn't tell you. Maybe they had a bad day, but it would impact you, especially if you were obviously a bit younger and you were maybe a kind of bit of a recluse yourself, that you weren't getting out there as much, and that was your chance to get out there and get shut down. It would probably annoy you, to be say the least, and maybe put you off the hobby.
Yeah, I always think that's a bit of a negative thing, because like yourself, you know, you started off with a mate.
Yeah.
YouTube videos have helped you out massively. Yeah. So it always seems like there's a nice enough community out there to get involved with, but
100%.
It's just a shame. I think people close ranks every now and again on certain things.
Definitely.
And I even noticed, I'll be honest, I even noticed some of the bigger names on, like, you'll see on Instagram, and I won't name drop them particularly, but there were definitely a few individuals walking around that seem to have chip on their shoulders, like, oh, we're the big people. You need to come and say hello to us.
I can remember when I first started, like on Instagram and stuff like that. I got back into COVID. I was terribly painting, and I saw this guy who'd painted like an amazing base. I can't remember the guy's name. It was obviously kind of big Instagram, and I was just like, oh, what paints he used? And he was like, oh, you need to go to my Patreon and pay for it. And I was like, I'm just asking you a simple like question. I'm not like asking, like, I'll try it myself and see how I go on, and then if I'm maybe interested, I'll pay for it. But like, I pay well straight away. I'm just asking to see. I wanted to know what 3 paints you use, but I agree with that. There is probably people out there that when they get on Instagram and they get past like these a certain amount of influencers, or they get contacted by DW, they probably would shut people down because they think they're maybe a bit better. That's down to that individual at the end of the day, but it puts a dent on it for like newcomers coming in that are looking for maybe a wee bit of advice or just a wee bit of openness. You know what I mean?
And just obviously staying on the idea of conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you done anything up your way? Have you done one of the what do they call them? The Warhammer Open Day? I can't remember now.
No, I've not, to be fair. I've been obviously my kind of local GW in the town a few times. Kind of most kind of conventions would be like kind of Comic Cons and stuff like that. But not kind of, they've obviously a bit of kind of hobby aspect to them, but not kind of full conventions. Been to Warhammer World a couple of times as well, but not full kind of gaming conventions and stuff like that. Probably closest to it would be kind of going to my local kind of GW. Don't go as much regularly because I'm not in the town as much anymore. Plus, I think GW is a bit more expensive than going third party. That's probably one of my other justifications as well. Don't chill GW that.
Oh no, don't worry, we don't.
We'll send them an email later on.
That's all right. Send them a video.
So, just going off hobby a wee bit here now, just more about yourself. Yeah. So, how long have you been, like? So you said you've got a girlfriend. Like, how long have you been seeing your girlfriend for? This is trying to lead back to my next question.
That's all right. So we're coming up for 3 years. Right. Coming up for about 3 years.
So you started doing your painting back in lockdown, which was 4 years ago, and you started seeing this last say then, obviously.
Yeah.
So at what point, how far into, how many dates or how far into the relationship was it that you actually went, look, I need to tell you something, I'll paint me plastic soldiers? How did that conversation start?
She's quite like geeky as well, so she likes kind of like Star Wars, kind of Lord of the Rings and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we started kind of talking. I can't remember, she probably put something on like a Tinder bio about like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, and the conversation kind of started from there. So I've got a collection of kind of like Island Studios collectibles, Star Wars, kind of Kotobukiya and stuff. So probably just kind of maybe led on from there a wee bit. And obviously I told her I've got an Instagram, and she was like, oh, what for? And she thinks it's really cool. Probably doesn't think it cool when I patch her for like 2 hours every night to paint, but she doesn't say otherwise. But yeah, she was pretty open about it, and I think she would have been because she was kind of generally a bit geeky. She was quite interested. She's bought me, obviously, reluctantly bought me stuff for like birthdays and kind of Christmases and stuff. So yeah, she was fine with it, you know.
And has she dabbled in the old painting world herself? Or
no, she's not. I have tried a couple of things, but she's like, no, I'm not artistic. I don't like to paint or draw or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to force you at the end of the day. I have tried a couple of times, but she's not for biting, unfortunately.
And so I'm a massive hater of the Beatles, right? I hate the Beatles, right? Okay. Would you be a pro Beatles fan or are you an anti Beatles fan?
I don't really listen to the Beatles or no, so it doesn't really bother me to be fair, but I would not know one of the people that I'd go and listen to, so I'd probably agree with you, Duncan, unfortunately, Casey.
You can't
and
see me,
before
I'm shaking my head.
and before I pass on to Casey here now, what would be your favourite? Obviously, we've got Inferno Miniatures in the chat here who likes to eat quavers with pieces of bread and sour cream.
Yeah, that's
What would be at rank? What would be your crisp of choice be?
See, I do like a quavers, but when you mentioned me that earlier, I was just like, I think that's going to put me off quavers a bit. Do like a Thai sweet chili sensation. Can't go wrong with a cheeky cheese and onion. A Worcester sauce is good every now and then as well with it.
And what would it be the tryst that you would avoid, like the plague?
I can't even think how much. I'm not really fussy to be fair. I don't have a problem eating. Just so I avoid like a plague. I don't know, pass on that one to be fair. I probably eat them all to be fair.
So I've got a new question in the whole like food and drink circle. And I'm actually stealing it from Peter Crouch's podcast that he does with Abby Clancy. I seen it on there the other day.
Okay.
If you had the choice of getting rid of one thing for a full breakfast, what would it be and why?
Black pudding.
Boom!
I know that's terrible coming from a Scottishman, but probably black pudding.
Why?
I just don't think it's that appetising compared to the rest of it. Like, if I'm starving, like, I'll eat it. I've not a problem eating it. It's not like it depends. If I'm like really hungry and it's on the plate, I'll eat it, but it's not the best on the plate compared to everything else. So yeah, it's got to be the black pudding's got to go, I'm afraid. Terrible coming from a Scottishman. I know, I apologise.
What would you, Casey? What would you get rid of for your full English?
Baked beans. I fucking hate baked beans.
Beans? I don't mind beans.
Stand them. No.
Don't mind beans.
The smell of them. Just can't, the texture. And
just in general, you hate beans or what's your breakfast?
Sorry, I missed you a bit there.
Do you just hate them in general or just with your breakfasts?
Yeah. In general. Just absolutely in general. Like the boy and the missus eat them. And if I'm making breakfast, I proper hold my nose the whole time I'm doing it. It just makes me gag. It's the smell of it. And then the missus wants it, like I have to cook them so they're saucy for the boy, but then the missus wants them overcooked, so they're just like this big pile of red mush.
You can't have them overcooked. That's just rank.
Yeah, they do me in. So yeah, fuck the beans off and keep everything else, including the recycled pig blood and junk of black pudding.
What's your choice? What are you getting rid of?
I would get rid of the beans, but for totally different reasons. I don't like cheap beans, so I don't want to take that risk in having like cheap shitey beans. So I would get rid of the beans.
Heinz beans.
I like Branston beans. They're top tier beans for me. So I don't. It's
not Branston. I'm not eating it.
And if it was an Irish breakfast, I'd have to get rid of the black pudding and white pudding because they're shite.
White pudding as well.
So then on this, given that you're both Scottish people, obviously, is it you're having normal sausages or you're having your delightful square?
I'm easy with it, but probably if I'm probably going to have to say square, it would be a proud Scotsman, but Link's fine with me as well. I'm not fussy again.
I love square sausage. Like I was over in Scotland 3 weeks ago for a funeral and that, and I brought back 3 warns and we're still like munching our way through. I had it for my dinner tonight.
I know that's what you call it, a square slice, and I was like, what? Just call it a square sausage.
I think it's because I'm used to it. When I say to people I'm having a piece of sausage, they'll ask me what do you mean by sausage. Because they'll know. So I'm having a piece of square sausage, Scottish sausage. Because if I say sausage, they'll think it's links. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So that's my girlfriend because she's over your way. I think is it Kilbarkin. So it's also not far from Paisley, and I was like square slice. I was like sausage, and she was like, "Oh no, it's just a thing. Somebody else say that here." And I was like, "Oh no."
Actually, Inferno Miniatures has just raised this in the chat, and this is a good point, right? I've been Scotland once, and I stayed in a hotel, and as part of the breakfast in the morning,
right,
you got haggis with it.
Oh, and no breakfasts.
Now, I've had haggis before as a dinner, and I've had it with breakfast, and I didn't mind it with breakfast. But is that like a standard thing up there? Do you get haggis for your breakfast normally, or?
I didn't think so. I thought it was always just a black pudding. I've never had a haggis with my breakfast, to be fair.
Nah, neither have I. It's always like square sausage, bacon,
Yeah.
beans,
Scone.
potato scone, black pudding, and maybe a fruit pudding.
Never haggis.
But no haggis. But
No. More kind of a dinner thing, haggis, I'd say.
Well, I've learned something there.
And a pint of Buckfast or a chaser, aye. That's
I
right.
just read that as well. Typical Scottish breakfast.
Now, we are not encouraging stereotypes of Scottish people on this chat. Please stop.
This podcast is sponsored by Buckfast
That's square sausage.
and Square Sausage.
Other types of sausage are available.
Are available just down south.
Yeah, just cross the wall, go into
Across the
that
wall,
barrack.
across that big Hadrian's Wall, across that.
Sorry, Dung, I've
Casey.
derailed you there, fella.
No.
Oh, you're switching over. Cool.
Switch to you, mate.
Right. So, and just carrying on from outside of the hobby as we always do.
Yep.
Obviously, you've mentioned when you're painting, you chuck your podcasts on. But if you're not your podcast, your YouTube, sorry.
Yeah.
If you're not doing your YouTube as you're painting, are you watching films, listening to podcasts, anything along those lines?
Probably just music or like an audiobook. I do have an Audible, which is I use kind of every now and then to get freebies. So probably music, or like Audible, to listen to kind of audiobooks, different kind of podcasts and stuff like that. But more so audiobooks or kind of music if it's not like YouTube videos. YouTube's kind of varied. It can be kind of paint tutorials, or it can be like looting for kind of lore or Valrak streams just for noise in the background and stuff like that. Or it can be like historical kind of gibberish about like Romans, World War One, World War Two, and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. And what has been the most recent thing you listened to?
In terms of like YouTube, or in terms of
Anything,
just
yeah, YouTube, your audiobooks, whatever.
I'm currently working my way through. Here we go, Ultramarines again. Euro Ventresses kind of book series. I think I'm on. Is it book 3? I can't remember. I've not listened to it in a while, to be fair. So yeah, currently on Euro Ventures again. I think it was like you buy two for the price of one on Audible or something. So I think I end up getting that and something else. So yeah, probably working my way through Euro Ventures just now is the most recent one that I can think of.
Cool. And yeah, when you're like not hobbying, when you've decided, right, at 2-3 hours a night, I'm not going to listen to anything, I'm not going to paint anything.
Yeah.
What are you doing on your average night?
Just chilling. Usual, feet up on the couch, cup of tea, watching absolute nonsense. I'm currently working my way through True Detective just now. Or if not doing that, maybe a wee bit of gaming. A little bit of PlayStation. Currently playing Helldivers, like probably majority of everybody on here. Currently working my way through that. So that's probably a bit of gaming or just kind of chilling. Maybe see the girlfriend or something like that. Take the dogs out for a walk. Other than that, to be fair.
You're a Celtic fan, is that? And you're a Celtic fan, is that right?
Obviously. I don't even know what the result is so far. I think the Rangers game kicked off like half an hour ago, but I'm trying not to pay attention.
And how do you feel your season's going now after the Rangers bottle job on Sunday?
I think it's quite good. It doesn't really change anything. We still need to go on and win our next 5 games. Tonight makes it a bit more difficult for them, I'd say, than Dundee. A lot more pressure on them, so see what happens. Still top of the league going into the split, which is good. We've obviously got more home games going into the split as well, so should hopefully bring league.
I would say now it's more in your hands now than it is.
Yeah,
if they didn't bottle it against Ross County, then you would be the point behind if they beat the Sheepshaggers tonight.
It's all about kind of going into that split, being kind of top of the league. That's what we were kind of aiming for. We've not had the greatest season, to be fair. It's been kind of up and down. But going into the split, 5 games left. Technically, I don't know what the score is, but technically still 4 points top. You can't complain, you know what I mean? Look at them at home as well. Going with the draw recently against them, I reckon we'll probably should win the league. I'd be surprised if we didn't, to be fair. You know what I mean?
Do you get too many games?
Not really. Season tickets are too expensive. Too expensive. Just time as well, going at the weekend and stuff like that. It's costing wise, if it was a bit cheaper, I'd maybe look at getting a season ticket. Plus, I think trying to get on the waiting list as well is like you need to wait like 3-4 years or something like that, I think, if I remember correctly.
I know, like
How much is a
I'm a big-
season ticket for that, Rick?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's dead expensive. You're St Mirren, aren't you? What's St Mirren's?
oh, it's about £2.50 or something.
Oh, is it?
I think it's for a couple of hundred. I think
They
it's a
just
couple of hundred.
let everybody walk in for the street, fill the stadium.
That's why we've got record. That's why we've got record attendances this season. I think it's a couple. I know. I think it's a couple hundred. I don't think it's too much. I don't think they're the most expensive. I think it's nowhere near as expensive as
I think that's
yourselves.
like was it like £400 or something like that? I think depends if you get the Champions League games and stuff like that as well. It's dead expensive. And then obviously you're not guaranteed a good seat. It's just kind of the luck of the draw now as well if you're waiting. You know what I mean?
How much is a season ticket for Crystal Palace, Casey?
So mine this season, no, next season because they're just renewed, was £540.
See, I think Celtic's running about that. I think Celtic's maybe about near like £500 or something like that. They're pretty pricey.
But I mean, I've got a really good view because I'm just behind goal or at the Holmesdale Road end to the left.
Yeah.
But saying that, that's actually one of the cheaper tickets.
Right.
Depending on where you're going around the ground, like some of them are close to like 700, which I think is insane. But like you're saying about waiting lists and stuff, I've got a mate who's an Arsenal fan who's been on the waiting list to get a season ticket with them for like 5 years, and it's just
won anything.
They're mental though, Arsenal fans. So, you know,
they bottled it at the weekend as well.
Loved it. What a great weekend of football for everyone.
I know, as well. What a great game of football.
You imagine if you had a treble at Ross County, Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. Man, you'd have been fucking rolling in the money.
Someone did. Yeah, there was someone, I don't know if it's average Twitter, oh, look at this bet that came in thing, but I think someone shared, it was Ross County, Liverpool, Ross County, Palace and Villa all to win. And I think they had the West Ham result on there as well.
Yeah.
But a tenner bet got you like 15 grand.
That's like, who's really fucking betting Ross County? Like, that's mental.
Like what? You wouldn't even have any justification to beat them. They've not beat Rangers in like 24 games or something like that. And then I'll just put Ross County on.
I think that's the first time they've ever beat Rangers as well.
It was the first time in like 24 games or something like that. They've drawn against them, but it's the first time.
People bet on anything though.
Oh,
what's that?
I do. I'd bet in fucking under 15s if I could get away with it.
So some bloke my dad worked with years ago that I think he must have been a gambling addict because he was always checking results and stuff. Yeah. But he was betting on like the Chinese league and their games were like 7 o'clock in the morning. So if he had a good result in the Chinese league, he'd be betting for the rest of the bloody day. Madness.
Betting on like Shanghai FC won like 6-0 or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. But
that's 5-0 up.
So you said you said you're playing Helldivers there. How you finding that? Is it a nice wee game to play? Is it quite 40k?
I think that's the reason why a lot of people love it. It's very 40k. You basically feel like you're an Imperial Guard fighting against like the Tyranids, or fighting against like the Necrons. The graphics are good, gameplay is good fun as well, which obviously kind of helps. I used to game a lot more when I was younger, but again, kind of like the hobby, I only kind of game every couple of hours. I'm not like a kind of avid gamer or anything, but I definitely recommend it. I think I saw a lot of people saying like GW, if they were smart, would jump on it like straight away and been like give us like skins and stuff instead of getting it to like Call of Duty stuff, which just looked terrible to be fair. They looked shocking, like a Space Marine. Like it was just like what even is that? But like doing it in a game like that, it suits like I don't know, like a Cadian skin or a Krieg kind of skin or something like that would fit that game perfectly. and how popular it is, GW would be raking in. I think sometimes they just take their foot off the gas and just don't make the kind of smart decisions. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Do
I've seen
you
with
guys play
Helldivers
it?
especially. Oh, sorry, Love, I'm talking over you there, but I'll just focus on Helldivers for a second. Me and Dunk are both Xboxers, so unfortunately, like we seem to have missed the boat on this. But no, we don't get anything fun. But I've seen really that the guys who make it are so switched on to what is going, not just what's going on in the game, so they're changing like how things are going on it, but I was watching something where one of the developers was playing with this guy, just this random. Yeah. And the random was getting all excited because it's a developer. The developer's like, oh, sorry, mate, I've got to go back to work. Here, have this. And give him a tank that had never been seen before in the game. Like, it really seems to me like the guys that make it care about it and want to keep everything fresh for people. Do you think that's something that should be just done, not, I suppose, not even with gaming, but with our little plastic miniatures and stuff?
100%. I think that's one thing that like, for a business, I work in marketing generally. I think GW like miss it massively. Like, see, I know obviously like Christmas they do like the kind of box sets and stuff, but see, even doing like a sale or something like that, like the amount of money that GW would make if they'd done a sale, you know what I mean? Like £5 off a box of Prime Minister Marines or something. Like everybody would just flock to that because it's like, oh my god, GW is doing a sale. Like, oh my god, I need to go and buy like hundreds. It's never going to happen again. They missed the ball with so many things. I think as a company, I don't know why they don't do it, but at the end of summer sale or something like that the stock that they always say that's like you're never going to get again. Like, why don't they put that on like sale instead of charging you like over the odds for it when they're never going to use it? Or having no kind of like summer sales or a spring sale or something like that would like people, they would make them so much more money. Because the thing is, people would therefore be like, okay, I can wait till GW is going to put another big sale up rather than going to like these third party game stores like Hobby Workshop or Element Games and stuff like that. And that's where I go now because it's so much cheaper. You know what I mean? It's like that's the one other thing I don't get, like how GW can't offer the same prices that Hobby Workshop and stuff like that offer. It makes so much more money. People would go to them more as well. Or if they did have these kind of sale aspects, you know what I mean, or like giveaways or something, make it a bit more engaging when you go into the shop.
I think just on the giveaway point, and obviously they do the mini of the month, but I always think it's a massive thing that you've got to go in there and ask for it.
Yeah.
Like, if you go in there, they should just like they do their standard thing, like, hi, how are you? What you're working on? What you come in for today? Do you want a mini of the month? Bang! Something's that actually you win properly.
100%. Because that even if you're new to the hobby, like say you're like 12 or something coming into the hobby, and you're like, oh my god, I just get this free mini. You'll go and tell your pals, and then they'll go. Inevitably, you're going to get more business from it. It's just like small things like that from a kind of marketing perspective that I think GW just missed the ball considerably. Like, and it's like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, every other massive company has like sales and does kind of offers and stuff. Like, why do they not? It's one of my kind of things with GW. Hence why, like, when I was younger, I went to them and I spent an absolute fortune. But as I've also grown up, I've realised, well, I can actually get this stuff like 25% off or whatever it is at a hobby workshop and stuff. It's a no-brainer for me. I'd say for everybody, to be fair. You know what I mean?
Well, just on the mini of the month, and Casey knows this because like I discussed it with him like months ago. I went into my local Games Workshop, which was at the time was in Belfast, and I live in Donegal now.
Right.
So I was actually in Belfast anyway. I think I was picking the wife up or something, and I popped into the Games Workshop and I was buying a couple of paints, and I asked the guy, I says, "Look, what's the mini of the month?" And I think it was like a wee like Imperial something dude or whatever. And I said, "Oh," he said, "This is mini of the month," and I said, "Oh, well, can I get it?" He's like, "Oh, you need to book."
You need to make it there or something. Is that right? You need to make it in there or something like that. Is that the thing I've read as well?
Mm.
He says, "Oh, you need to book an appointment to build it in the shop." And I was like, "Oh, right." He says, "Well, do you have any appointments now?" He's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, I live in Donegal though." I says, "Like, I'm only up here for the day. I'm always in here. Everything. I'm up in Belfast. I'm always come in here." He's like, "Yeah, that's nothing I can do." So I actually emailed. I was a bit annoyed. So I actually emailed Games Workshop and said, "Look, that's fine your order. Like, what I've went in there before, and it's a policy change that you have to phone ahead and book an appointment and build the model in the shop and all that. They actually sent me through an entire sprue of the Mini of the Month, which was really nice of them. Which was really nice of them to do, and it's still sitting there somewhere.
But you got it anyway.
Got it anyway. But it's like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand why, or you have to book an appointment, or fair enough. Fair enough. Build it in there. Like, that's fine. You're in there anyway. Takes 5 minutes. Here's a set of snips. Here's some glue. Knock yourself out. That's fine. I'm totally with that. But like, having to book an appointment to build a Mini, and
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
You know what? It's weird though, because I've been into freedom. I'm going to sound like a right pikey here, but if it's something I'm bang after, I've got a store in central London and 2 stores within 3-4 miles where I live now. Right. And I will do all 3. I'll do to the central London one when I'm in work in my main office. And if I'm working from home or like locally, I'll do the other 2. And I get 3 different things in each shops. Like the closest one, like, do you mind just building it here? Central London, like, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. Off you go. On your way. Here's a sprue. And then I get like just different reactions from the other store. Like, sometimes like, do you mind building it here? Sometimes like, yeah, just cut it out, stick it in a box, take it home with you, do what you want. Yeah. And there doesn't seem to be like, as a company, to have that sort of, here's a little free giveaway. There's seem to be no unified policy on it, which just seems bizarre.
Like every shop, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. Just I think like we all know about them generally. They're just.
The thing is, people are busy. You know what I mean? Like obviously Dunk said he was in to get paints. He was there for the day. He's not got time to spend like half an hour building or whatever. You know what I mean? Like people, I bought the paints. Here's your free money. Okay, that's great. Thanks, I appreciate it. I'll tag you on Instagram or something. You know what I mean? But as you said, there's like no consistency across the board. You're going to different shops and it's different. Like it's getting handled differently. Whereas it should be the same policy. You know, it's the same shop at the end of the day.
I can also imagine that if he was in there building it, Dunk's missus might have given him a bit of shit. So
he's dragging him out by the ear.
She was sitting in the car. I could feel the daggers getting stared at me from across the road through 2 sets of windows. Like, I was literally in there for about 10 minutes, and I was like, still 10 minutes too long. I mean, you just can't win. You know what I mean? She's going to
like putting the ball and everything, phoning you about 10 times.
Looking at the phone, I know, and text me saying, "I know you can see this." I'm like, oh.
I think that's go on, Dunk.
So one of the questions I like to ask people, like, you've been in the hobby now a good while, you came back to the hobby now. Yeah. What would be the one Mini that you would like to repaint for the first time that you've done?
I think I've done one recently actually, which was the Forge World Reboot of Gilliman from the Horus Heresy. I've got them all kind of up in the cabinets. You can maybe kind of see behind. Got kind of 2 layers, one for the kind of loyalists, one for the heretics. And I've got some like really poorly painted from when I first kind of started, but I've kind of kept some poor because I can see my journey. And I can see like up to my kind of more recent ones where I'm like my level of painting. But obviously being a kind of Ultramarine fanboy, he was annoying me. Like the base had been built terribly and stuff like that. So I've repainted him recently. So I'd probably say that would be my more one that I can think of off the top of my head. Kind of made him look a bit more damaged, a bit more clean. It's built a bit better, obviously. So I'd probably say that one that I can think of off the top of my head.
And if there was one Mini that you would like to paint it's never maybe been made, but you've got in your head that you would like to see built and made, what would it be?
That's a tough one. There's one that I'm thinking of that's already built. I'm possibly considering trying to save up and get a Warlord Titan to do a diorama for some like mad reason. I've got this kind of idea in my head. So I'd maybe say that is obviously out just now, but I would love to obviously kind of build it. I think it was after I'd done my Warhound, I was like, okay, I could maybe do something a bit bigger. But it's just kind of like the cost implications. So it's like, do I save up for it? Will the missus shout at me? Is it worthwhile getting shouted at? I don't know. But in terms of a Mini that I've never like I've thought about getting built. I don't know. It's off the top of my head. I've kind of got most of what I want. As such, I'm kind of redoing my army slowly. I'm currently working my way through kind of fixing my Ultramarines because, again, some of them are like really. I can't think of any model off the top of my head that I would like to see built. What's your kind of thoughts? You guys get something that you have got an idea of, or?
I'll let you go first, Casey, because I'm trying to think.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to just refer back to something like you talk about your Warlord Titan, right?
Yeah.
At this thing on Saturday, they had they call them the Titan Owners Club, right?
Titan Owners Club, the Titan what?
Yeah. And watching them play their game was just mental. Yeah. But this bloke, and I swear to God, it was the scariest thing I've ever seen. He's walked up to his little Titan. I think it was a Warlord. Not Warlord, no, Warhound. Sorry. He's walked up to it, and the only way I can describe it is like when you see a baby that's learning how to walk, and it's just sort of, you can't, none of you can really see me, but I'm sort of doing like the awkward baby walk thing. And he's walked up behind this fucking Titan, and he has scooped it up between the legs, walked a couple of feet forward, and just plonked it back down. And I tell you what, I was shitting myself that he was going to drop it.
Oh man, that would have gave me the fear. Like I've got my wife in a glass cabinet, and every time I open the cabinet, it's like it kind of shakes just slightly. It's fine in position, but I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, once my girlfriend like rolled over during the night and smacked the cabinet, and I woke up and I was like, is the cabinet all right? And she was like, I am fine as well, by the way. And I was like, all right, that's fine. As long as
it proper shut me up the way this guy just picked up this thing, and it was just like, I was just thinking of the price of it in my head, like that's $1,000, and you're just doing that to it. What the?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I had to brace. I've got some super glue and activator spray. I'm all right. Like, oh, good luck then, fella.
I'll get some extra mag.
For me, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Is something I want to paint is Magnus, the 40k version of him, not the 30k, because I'm not ready for resin yet. And if there was a mini that I wanted them to do for Games Workshop, I would say, you know what? Something really simple, Malcador.
Oh, that's a good shout, by the way. That's a good shout.
You know, it's going to be a simple. Go on, Doug.
Oh, you don't continue. I'll jump in after you.
Yeah, it's just a simple. It's just going to be a simple little dude in robes.
Yeah,
but it would be how the presence of the mini almost.
the kind of lore behind him. It's just like this wee guy and a guy, all frail guy in robes, but the stature behind him, like what he means, what he signifies, and 100%. That's a good shout, actually. That's a really good shout.
Go on, Doug.
I was always saying, like, for me, I've actually changed my stance a wee bit. I used to say, if Games Workshop had did like The Fallen, I think that would have been a big seller for for a lot of people. But I think I'm going to go along the kind of lines that you're going, Casey. I would like to have seen a John Dramaticus mini, because he was so he was quite important in the Horus Heresy books, and also Garrow, like. We need him.
They did Garrow, didn't they?
He's a Forge World character. I think he's like really old though.
I'm talking about his Grey Knight outfit. Get him as a Grey Knight.
The Inquisition.
I would like to see a John Dramaticus. I'd just like to see.
I think that's where maybe like GW miss it a wee bit. Like they released the Siege of Terror books. Like why not release like one-off characters? You know what I mean? Like. That'd be like really cool. Like you can't use them in the game, but they would look amazing in your cabinet, and they add to the story. It's like that's a real selling point there. Like as like a marketing point of view, like why are we not doing something like that? I'd be saying as a company, like that'd be amazing. Or like as you were saying, Malcador. Imagine how many people would go out and buy a Malcador model, just this wee kind of old frail guy with like a hood and a robe on. Like they would sell crazy.
Yeah,
but and even they miss out on these things.
Not everybody's going to. Not everybody plays the game like yourself. Like
exactly.
You would put him in a diorama. I'm pretty sure there's been people doing like CG's a terror dioramas, or even the throne room with Malkador
That's
sitting
like,
and
I can't remember the guy's name on Instagram that's currently doing the Imperial Palace.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like found it all gold. Like that would, like imagine him having like Malkador or something like that. That would be like I'd add to it. You wouldn't really notice him due to the scale, but knowing he was there, you'd be like, oh, that adds to it considerably. You know what I mean?
It's like
and then just seeing people's takes on what colour scheme would be and all that.
Yeah,
It would be
exactly.
amazing. Like,
It adds to it like considerably, but they don't do these kind of things. Which, like me and my mate, like, we've always kind of said that, like, why are they not doing this? It's like that would sell so well. Like these simple ideas, like we've spoken about this for 2 seconds, and that's basically 2 seconds. GW could have made thousands. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like designing an old frail looking guy is not going to take the designers that long in concept, really, is it?
Yeah.
I'm also not a designer, but I wouldn't imagine so compared to something more complex. But I think GW have got the supplies and manpower to do something as simple as that. You know what I mean? The one-off characters. They probably would do a limited edition, to be fair, not in GW, but that'd be a good idea, I think.
The FOMO would be strong. They'd set out in like 30 seconds, and
Like
it'd end up on eBay.
and then they'd be like $1,000.
Yeah.
I think if they were to do something like that, right? For me to like buy the scalpers, send them to your local Games Workshop, and you have to go and pick them up there and then.
There's ways.
I mean,
I remember then that some people say, "Oh, but I don't have a GW. I need to drive like 4 hours to get to my local GW." Is the other downside of it, but I'd probably say I would stop the scalpers 100%. It's like I've got the Siege of Terror books there. The end of the day, if I got 2 of them, relatively not too bad. I got one kind of cheapish on eBay, was the book two. Book one I managed to like get past before GW updated to their terrible website, but that's a whole other conversation. And get it. And then the third book there was just absolutely terrible. I ended up having to pay a scalper to get it because it was like, I've got 2, like, what am I going to do now? I can't complete the collection. I'd be better off just selling the 2 if I'm not completing it.
Yeah.
So I did end up paying a scalper to get it, but GW's handling of it was like terrible. I was like in the queue in my work. I got my girlfriend to sit on her laptop and her phone. I got in before her and she was on at like 8 o'clock. It was like absolute madness. But I've said to her as well, like, I'm not getting any more limited edition books or anything. It's just not worth the hassle. It's not fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with like a lot of the boxes that are coming out as well. It's like the Crew box, like being a recent example. Like, you know, here, look, got this lovely box. You get all the sprues. You got a lovely limited edition codex. But to me, I don't give a shit if it's a special edition or a normal codex. Like years ago, is like when I was playing computer games more. If a game was coming out that I was super excited for, I think the best thing to sort of compare it to be like Halo 3. That dropped, and you got a big helmet of the main character, Master Chief, in it.
Yeah.
And I shit myself. I pre-ordered it in 2 places. Forgot I pre-ordered it in 2 places, and then I had 2 of the bastards turn up. I was sitting there, shit, this is like nearly 200 quid's worth of gear. And I managed to sell one on, but that's the madness of it. I think from there I realised I don't need that sort of stuff. And like, as I've gotten older and, you know, you get with someone and you have a kid, like you were saying earlier, it's like, how do I sneak this in the house without them realising? They're going to realise you're going to get caught and you're going to get in shit. So it's not worth it at all.
No, 100%. And the thing is with games nowadays, you're pre-ordering something, and the standard of games nowadays is like, it's terrible. You're getting like a half-finished game, or there's constant bugs on it, and I think a lot of people are now like stopping pre-ordering, but again, they're trying to entice people. It's like the new Space Marine game. I've been tempted to pre-order it because you get the really cool Titus with the Termagant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really want to pay that amount of money. It looks really cool, but I'm all back on edge that the game's going to be terrible, I think, because everybody's hyped it up so much. It runs that risk because the first one was so good that will it live up to the hype? I don't know where do I really need that Tyranid and Titus model? I don't know. I've still undecided. Watch this. I'll buy it or something.
You say that. I was at my mum's yesterday because they're away. I was feeding their fish and tidying, like making sure the house hadn't fallen down and stuff. Yes. But I did actually get not the mad special edition of Space Marine. I got like the medium version, which came with an art book and a fridge magnet purity seal, which was sick because it's like this huge lump of plastic with the ribbons coming off it and stuff. But then I was like, okay, I've never read that art book, and I've just got this fucking fridge magnet that I've never used.
And you spent all that money on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you think for space, like a Games Workshop games, like pre-order it, and if you play the game, here's a couple of minis. That makes more sense. 100%. But you know, that's just
the new Titus model. They put in a board game and gave it to the Americans, and it's like board game support to be terrible and stuff. It's like, why would you not just release that when the game comes out or something? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. They might do that, to be fair. You know, they'll release it a couple of days later, but again, silly decisions, isn't it?
I didn't like the look of that mini though. I thought it was actually they did a bad disservice, didn't they?
Terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah, like
really bad. When I was an Ultramarines fanboy, I didn't buy
it. So, where you're sort of mentioning Space Marine 2, then like I think I'm a bit like you. I'm trying not to get caught up in the hype train of it, but I know the moment it drops, I'm going to end up getting
100%. I'm the exact same.
Yeah.
Just again, as you were saying earlier, it's that kind of fear of missing out. Plus, it's like we've been waiting so many years for it. There was a kind of grumblings after the first one that was going to be like a whole trilogy and stuff like that. So I hyped you up, and then it went off the face of the earth. And then I think was it Valrak trying to kind of revitalise it and get the license and get the multiplayer like massive again, and everybody was kind of hyped again, and it dropped off. And then all of a sudden, like kind of dipping and flowing constantly with it. So I'll probably be the same as well. I'll get it when it comes out, probably.
I think there were problems with the developer. I think the developer went under, and they had to Sega own the developer. Yeah, and then I think it's just sort of languished in a bit of hell for a bit. But the multiplayer on it was bloody amazing. I used to love just having a ruck against another group of Marines, and I'd always be a Thunderhammer and miss. And you take that first swing and miss, you know you're fucked.
You're dead.
Yeah.
The external
you just sort of
was amazing as well, to be fair. I think that was kind of like followed on from like, was it Call of Duty Zombies or something like that? Maybe around about the same time scale, maybe a bit off. But I remember playing Exterminatus and be like, oh my god, this is amazing. Just you and like 4 of your mates just kind of beating up like waves and waves of like orcs and stuff. It was like incredible at the time. Yeah,
really does feel like, apart from like your Dawn of War, your Space Marine, and what's the recent one that everyone's been? Was it Exterminatus, the recent one?
Darktide?
No, Darktide. That was it. Yeah. It seems like
not get the same feel. Lacks a wee bit. There's something missing from it, I think. I have played it like loads. I've got it loaded up on the PC, but I feel like there's something missing.
You know what? I didn't play Darktide, but I played the fantasy game, which it's based off. And for the life of me, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the same sort of concept that you're a party of 4 or 5 different dudes and fighting Skaven.
Oh, the Warhammer version of it. Warhammer. I can't remember the name now. I know what you're talking about, because it's basically the exact same concept.
Yeah, and I think that might be the problem with it. You know, it is just they've reskinned the game.
Basically.
So, with all of that in the back of your mind, then, what would you say your future hobby? Vermintide. Thank you, Colin. Painting adventure. Cool. There we go. So back to the question. What are your future hobbying plans? Obviously, you mentioned your Victoric Romans, but what else are you sort of looking to expand on, redo, go back to do?
So currently working through my Ultramarines just now. I think I'm going to take a wee break. Painting blues, it kind of does get to you a wee bit. So I've just finished my kind of Leviathan Dreadnought, but I'm going to kind of make it as if it was like a relic for my first company Ultramarines. So they're kind of nearly finished. I've got a few Terminators still left to do, and then I'll jump down and do the second company, kind of revitalise them. I will do the first 4 companies. I'm undecided whether to get a Warlord Titan or not. I don't know if I can justify the cost, because the costing is crazy. But I did have an idea. I got it from someone on here. I can't remember their name. That's terrible. But they've just done like a night diorama. and it's like kind of like damaged and falling in terrain and stuff like that. I'll find it after and show you guys. But I kind of like the idea of like a knight versus a knight, because I won a Cerritus Knight, and was it Windwink or something like that. I signed up like 199 for a token. I thought I'd get a bash, and I ended up getting a Cerritus Knight. So I've been thinking about doing something with a Cerritus Knight, and I've got a Chaos kind of Knight line and a cupboard somewhere that I was thinking I could maybe do those two, and create a kind of a diorama. But it all depends on space, because the way I work my dioramas is I need to design them to fit in my cabinets, because I've just no space just now. So I need to work out how, if it was big enough to have two knights in the one diorama, if that makes sense.
And Colin's Painting Adventure is surprised that you don't do a successor chapter with green and white hoops.
I think the fourth company, Ultramarines, is probably the closest that I've got to the successor chapters of the Ultramarines. I could maybe get a bash, maybe do a test model one day, call it the boys. That's probably a good idea, actually, to be fair. But yeah, probably the fourth company, Ultramarines with Ventress and stuff, is probably the closest that I'd go to with the green on that, I'm afraid. I might do a green knight, to be fair. I did. House Veroni is the knight that the house that I'm kind of leaning towards for the diorama if I do go down that route. But again, it all depends on space and at the end of the day, kind of costing and stuff.
Yeah. And green is always a lovely colour to go to after blue, in my opinion.
100%. It kind of breaks it up a wee bit. I've not really painted much green. I think the closest green I've painted was Vulcan. It's kind of like the main green mod I've painted. I painted like orcs kind of like years ago when I first started, and they were like terrible. So probably the closest thing I've painted green would be Vulcan. To be fair, Death Guards, do they count as green, kind of?
Yeah.
Kind of. So I've got Death Guards, they're painted green. So House Veroni, I kind of like the colour scheme a wee bit. Again, something new to try, but a kind of whole new challenge basically. So I might go down that route, but it depends. I've got too many ideas. That's my problem. I'm too impulsive. I get like an idea in my mind and think, oh, I could create this, and then like, or I could create this, and I've got too many ideas. I need to try and narrow them down, unfortunately, because I'm running out of space in the cabinets now. Unless I need to start buying a new cabinet, because that one in the background's filled with my Ultramarines, the Primarchs, Chaos Undivided, and I think Custodes at the bottom of that one. And then I've got one there, which you'll probably see, Warhound Titan, the Cabanda diorama. I've actually got an Aliens diorama in that as well, down there, but I'm like running out of space. I'll probably just flipping that, to be fair. But so first one, like Cabanda. Again, I've finished Sanguinius, I've just not put them on it. Warhound Titan, which is the kind of the Siege of Terra one. Got an Aliens one, which is again half finished. Need to paint all the minis, and then I've just got a random bits and bobs first dates game that's just been thrown in there for some weird reason. That's for you. And then games. Why that's in my cabinet, I have no idea.
Thank God it wasn't a strap on or a dildo or something.
That could have been a bit awkward with that, eh?
That's my next diorama. Yeah, off you go.
I think it was like a Christmas game, like 1 year or something like that. I think it's just been like, I don't know why it's been thrown in my cabinet all of a sudden, but it's in there. So the bottom section is where I don't know, I've got room to play with. I've got one section left of the cabinet. What kind of diorama? We'll see what happens in the kind of coming months. Where I do go for the Titan, or I do go for the Knights. Plus, I've got that Roman diorama idea as well. That's kind of my three, and I've got one space left just now, which is the main issue.
So I'm going to pass back over to Dunk in a second, before I do. Dioramas, old school kit bash terrain, all of that sort of stuff at the moment really sort of appeals to me, because like I love the fact that companies are producing 3D printed stuff or actual terrain kits, but I feel like as hobbyists, we're losing a sense of where we've come from if we're not going back and looking at the old way of doing things, like plyboard and cardboard and some polyfiller. Do you think it really challenges you to sort of, when you get these ideas, that you sit down and you're thinking, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that? Does it really just help your interest out in it all?
Yeah, that it depends. Like my way is kind of like a bit of both. Like I've used kind of like a kind of like mold to kind of craft the flooring of it, of the bases, and then kind of work my way up from there. Either a mix of kind of like creating things or getting kind of 3D printed parts. Again, the thing is, it's time consuming. So to kind of speed up the time, I do sometimes go down that kind of 3D printed route, which helps to speed up the process slightly. So like the Warhound diorama, there's like a couple of 3D printed parts on that, but the stairs and stuff are all made with kind of XPS. The statue and the barricades, they're obviously 3D printed. The rest of it's kind of just moulded modelling compound and scatter terrain. The Cabanda diorama, that was kind of like the first kind of big diorama I'd done since reading that the Battle of Eternity Gate with him as Inquisition. I was like, I want to try and do that. The models, I think the Cabanda models are amazing, to be fair. Definitely one of my favourites. So that's majority of that's 3D printed, apart from obviously the base. And then to do the aliens kind of diorama, to try and get that kind of feel, I had to go down the 3D printed route. I didn't even know where to start to kind of craft it. I crafted the base using like gravel from like a fish tank that I found an idea on YouTube. Somebody had done like it's like a 6-inch NECA. See the NECA alien toys that you used to get?
Yeah, yeah.
They'd used like fish tank gravel, sprue, whatever you call it, to create the base of it. So I used that idea. So there is a wee bit of crafting involved with the XPS as well, but most of that to get the overall design was 3D printed.
Oh. Dunk.
So what drew you to dioramas? What got you into the dioramas?
I'd always got to be fair, my biggest diorama is currently in the garage. I've got a Minas Tirith diorama. Currently in my garage. It's like 3 foot by 3 foot. Again, it probably started kind of during COVID and following Zorpras up and seeing like his amazing like Minas Tirith and Oscar boards were like insane. So again, I got a 3D printed Minas Tirith and kind of built everything round about it. There's some kind of videos on my Instagram, kind of early videos, not my kind of best work, but when I first kind of started out. So it probably started from there, and then I've always had these kind of ideas. Me and my mate, but it'd be amazing if we could create this. And then reading the Battle of the Eternity Gate was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Seeing that Cabanda get released, I was like, let's just take a gamble. What's the worst that could happen? How expensive can dioramas be? Dioramas are very expensive and time consuming, because it's like time you pay for the 3D printed buildings, time you pay for the modelling compounds, the scatter terrain and stuff like that. It does add up, but once you've got the scatter stuff in stock, so I've got like 2 bags from Geek Game and Scenic, and I've still got a bit left from kind of 2 dioramas. So once you've stocked up on it, and I've still got a lot of modelling compound left, it's not too bad. It's just that first initial, you're buying all the materials and you're like, oh crap, this is expensive and growing arms and legs. So it's probably from kind of following Zorpras Ops and the main inspiration. And then after I'd done one, I was like, okay, I'm not too bad. I can learn. So I think my Warhound Titan one's like so much better than the Cabanda one. It has been according to Instagram as well. That's kind of like my highest viewed post on Instagram. I think I've got like 20,000 views on that post alone. I was like, oh my god, like, okay, that was actually pretty cool. So it's gave me that kind of confidence that I can be like, right, okay, I can try new dioramas, like try new things and see what happens, you know what I mean?
And do you ever feel like you're going to maybe enter a golden demon and see how far you can push yourself?
I thought about it. I did think about it in Armies and Parade. A few of my mates were like, "Oh, you should enter your Warhound into Armies and Parade and stuff like that. That's really cool, a lot of detail, stuff like that." But I don't know. I don't know if I'm at that level yet. I do obviously think it's amazing, but I'm still unsure. Depends. The option is there. If I do kind of want to go back, I could also change a few things and re-enter it. But in terms of Golden Demon, the overall the standard's not as great. Diorama, Arms of Parade, you maybe get away with a bit more.
What's holding you back?
I don't know, just that bit of self-doubt, self-confidence, like why why is it? And I don't know. I don't know. I'm still on because my girlfriend's like, it's like amazing. Like you should do something with it, like post more. To be fair, I should probably do more on Instagram. I try not to because obviously it's my work as well, so I kind of get a wee bit bored. I paint and I post every now and then. So I think it's maybe a bit of that self-doubt and that maybe lacking a wee bit of motivation because it's like I want to focus so hard on it and then end up kind of burning myself out a bit as well, possibly. Or maybe a wee bit of it doesn't get received as well as everybody's telling me it's going to be received, so therefore it puts me a bit down. I think, okay, maybe I'm not as good as what I am. I'm a confident guy, but you know, everybody's got that wee bit of self-doubt in their kind of capabilities at the end of the day.
I think no one that just sorry, Doug, to jump in. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things though. If I know you've got obviously your people around you saying, do it, do it, do it. Sometimes you just got to trust what people are telling you, though. Like
you just need to take that leap of faith sometimes at the end of the day. Just go for it.
I mean, you definitely should.
Yeah, I think
you definitely
should as well. Like, I think if it was for the likes of Casey and Inferno, Mr. Salad Cream, like, Typhus would still be sitting in a box for me. I think you have to sometimes just push yourself to see how far you can actually take yourself as well.
That was one of the other reasons why I was kind of thinking, oh, Warlord. I was like, that's like the biggest thing you can get. You can't go any better than a Warlord. And I was like, let's challenge myself. Maybe I'll do it. And then I was looking at the cost implications, and I was like, okay, that's expensive. I was like, can I get it 3D printed? So that maybe speed up the process. So I got an STL file. So I'm lingering towards a Warlord Titan, but I just need to try and work out kind of where it'll be most cost effective. And depending on how that goes, maybe or it's either just now it's between the two Knights or the Warlord Titan. I think if I need to go with the Warlord Titan, I'd maybe need to sell the Knights to obviously kind of justify some of the costs for the Titan. But I don't know, we'll see. Depends what happens after this stream. I might be tempted and just go and buy it, but I've been kind of weighing up pros and cons of both, to be fair.
I think it's safe to say you'll be buying something at the end of the day.
It's like I spoke to my girlfriend about it earlier, because I told her I got the STL file and I was asking her around for some prices, and she was like, "You're just trying to justify it to yourself. You're not trying to justify it to me here, are you?" And I was like, "You're probably right there."
And what does she think of you coming on the Inquisition tonight? This is we've never asked people this. Like, what does she think about you coming on the Inquisition tonight?
She was like, "You never told me," and I was like, "I did tell you," and she was like, "No, you never," and I was like, she was like, "If you did, I would have made like a big thing about it," stuff like that, and I was like, right, okay, well, I'm going on and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, that's like amazing, so good and stuff," she's like, "What are you wearing and stuff like that," and I was like, "I don't know, just a t-shirt," she was like, "You know what, I don't think it's that serious." I don't need to get like dressed up and stuff, but yeah, she was obviously really proud. She was like, the podcast and stuff like that. I was like, oh, it's pretty fun and stuff like that as well. I'd thought about it before, because obviously when you guys were Simon, I also had known Simon since I kind of started doing Instagram. And so like over the past couple of months, you were thinking about inviting get people on and looking for people, and I was like, again, will I do it? Will I not do it? And then I was just speaking to him randomly one day, and he's like, "Want to come on?" And I just kind of thought, fuck it. Go for it. Let's. I watched the guy streams and stuff. It's a good laugh. He's had a bit of chat for a couple of hours. Just go for it. So here I am. So maybe I need to just do that with my dioramas and just enter it into something and just go. Fuck it. See what happens.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. What have you got to lose, really? Like, probably nothing. It'll probably make you a bit. It'll probably make your confidence grow and maybe a wee bit more belief in yourself as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like the thing I look at where I've came from to like now, it's nuts. Obviously, I put up a kind of before and after of kind of like my new Gilliman compared to like my old Gilliman, and seeing the contrast in a couple of years is obviously really impressive. So I'm getting there. I'd say like I'm a decent painter. I'm not where I could be probably because I don't try that much, to be fair. If I took like kind of more time and kind of sat down and rather than just kind of a couple of hours here and there and just kind of painting, probably could get up to a kind of better standard. But again, I don't want to burn myself out or feel like I'm too involved, because my girlfriend's like, "Oh, why don't you do it as commissions and stuff like that?" I was like, it becomes work. I wouldn't enjoy it because I'm like working rather than like chilling out and doing a hobby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you deal with burnout? And how do you deal with burnout yourself if you do suffer from it? How do you cope with it?
just kind of changing things up, because I think I'm kind of getting to that stage now with my ultramarines. I think because I painted like so much blue. I obviously my one of my goals this year when I first started January was going to fix my ultramarines. I'm going to get 4 companies of ultramarines, good tabletop standard, some decent painted models, kind of like characters and stuff. But painting, you know, it's like painting the same colour continuously. Excuse me. Although I love ultramarines, does get to you a wee bit. So it's all about kind of changing things up. And the thing that with me is the dioramas keep me interested, because I can see it developing. I'm not just doing the same thing for a diorama, which is one of the other parts. So it's like when you're crafting a diorama, you're doing different colours, you're doing different materials you're using, you're adding different effects and kind of things like that. So that's why else I do love a diorama. It keeps me motivated, because I can like, oh, I could try that, I could try this. Whereas if you're painting an ultramarine, you're like, okay, it's blue, Calgar blue, Farnese clay, Millen oil, okay, done, basically. But the dioramas keep me motivated, because there's things that I'm still learning as well, to be fair. Which does help. Whereas I know how to paint an ultramarine, you know what I mean? It's like building and painting a diorama. It's new and kind of gets you that excited. That I'm like, okay, oh, fuck it, it's what it is. Let's see what happens. But I'm trying new skills and stuff like that. Like I would never have thought a few years ago that I would have done like 3. Well, I would say like 3 dioramas, but like one's technically finished. The rest are still like nearly there. I've never thought that I would have done like a couple of dioramas, like, and got like the response that I had been getting from Instagram on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think we're at that sort of time where we ask our last few questions of the night, because you've been on with us nearly an hour and a half, and we don't want to take up any more of your time. And obviously, we do appreciate you jumping on, giving up your evening to come and chat to us. But I think, yeah, with respect to like everything you've done and everything that you've achieved, and like where you've been to where you are now, what would you say is the one technique that really has helped you get to where you are?
Oh, geez, that's a hard question. One technique, I'd probably say dry brushing. I think dry brushing gets quite like kind of pushed to the side slightly. It can be really effective. So obviously, as people have maybe saw my Warhound and not, that's the Warhound's actually hand painted, and it's literally used doing kind of like dry brushing. On the panel and stuff, like no airbrush or anything like that involved to it, but the dry brushing technique is used to kind of create that kind of layers of red that a dry brush would kind of like offer you. Plus, massively dry brushing with a diorama is like considerably helpful. So sorry, it saves time. It's not as time consuming and stuff, but it creates you like a whole different effect. It's like my bases. I don't know if you saw on my Ultramarines recently. It creates such a good effect, but there's literally three dry brushes, and it gets such a big response. And it's like I get somebody asking, like, "Oh, how do you do this?" And I'm like, I just winged it. I just like, oh, I want to try and get a bone stone colour. I would like to try a couple of paints, and it works. So I'd probably say dry brushing. Plus, I think there's that kind of bit of stigma that you need to get an airbrush and you need to use this, and the airbrush gets you this. I don't think so. I'm not comfortable using an airbrush. I don't have like space to use an airbrush, but I can get to a standard using like that technique to an extent with a dry brush. Because I think there's a lot of kind of YouTube tutorials out there that kind of maybe shy away from it slightly, but then you've got some out there that do really recommend it, and it can be very useful, especially even for just painting kind of quick, easy minis at the end of the day as well.
I suppose, like you're saying, with all the different Ultramarines that you do have and the companies that you've got, being able to just sit down and dry brush the shit out of them, it's just the time and effort, isn't it?
Actually dry brush my Ultramarines after saying that. The only bit that gets dry brushed is kind of like to create the kind of dust effect on their legs. I actually don't dry brush my screens. That's terrible. I hype that up and I don't even use dry brushing on them.
But you know what though? Even where you just said like for just the dust effects, like it is just such a simple, quick, easy little thing that just one or two paints and you're done. And with that, where you're sort of mentioning the airbrush and you don't have the space for it and stuff, as someone who doesn't have the space for it either, I'd recommend, because I do have an airbrush, that you go on Amazon and you can pick up a charging one, which is basically like a really just shit tiny little battery charge compressor that sits on top of the airbrush, and then you don't need to have the giant fucking space for it and all the setup and stuff. And it's worth doing. I can send you a link to one. I'm not sponsored by them, I promise. But yeah, I should be. But yeah, it's something that I never really wanted to do. And then having like Necrons are the boringest fucking thing in the world, but being able to just spray them lead belcher, spray them one silver, spray them another silver. It's I could do it. I could do it with dry brushing, but when I do actually sit down and paint, it's just so easy. So yeah,
quick pass, and that's.
I just want to say thanks for coming on, man. Is there any questions you want to ask us?
So how did this all kind of start? I think obviously Simon said previously you just kind of thought let's try it and see what happens. So I know you've obviously had kind of like some kind of like big names on it and stuff like that as well. Was it something you always kind of thought of? Was it just kind of like, oh, let's just try it? And again, kind of like me with my dioramas, like, fuck it, let's see what happens, and then try and reach out to like some big kind of names, and hopefully they'll say yes. Was everybody kind of like accommodating and stuff like that as well, or were they like the way you said earlier, like no, a bit kind of snobby and be like, no, I'm not coming on a wee kind of podcast that no one's kind of really heard of at the time and stuff like
that? I think I've known Casey since we were in a painting competition together. That's how me and Casey know each other.
Right.
And I kind of came up with the idea because like Casey and Simon would do streaming together.
Right.
And I was a bit shy about doing streaming, but then I noticed there was a lot of podcasts out, but I thought there was maybe a space, like there's a lot of good painters on Instagram that don't have a lot of followers, and it does seem to me that if the algorithm is your friend, then you'll get followers, but there's a lot of people there that don't get the followers for the work that they do. So I kind of floated it out to Casey and Simon, and I says, look, I think we could do something called Inquisition, where we bring people on and just ask them about their hobby journey and how they got into their hobby and all that sort of stuff. And they were like up for it. And I was just sitting there, I was just messaging people. Like, what a lot of people don't understand is you can send out a lot of requests. Now, a lot of people aren't snobby about coming on. A lot of people are actually quite shy about coming on.
Yeah.
A lot of people are actually are a good bit shy about coming on. I've only ever had one person ask me to give them 50 quid to come on, and I kind of laughed at that person.
Oh wait, so did you get paid for this? Like, did I miss that memo, or like did I get paid after? Or?
No, your missus sent me money to have you on so she could go out tonight.
Right.
But see, when it came to like Graham McNeil and Peachy and Duncan Rhodes and Chris Tester and everybody else, like they were more than happy to come on. Like we weren't expecting. We were like, as that, you know what? I think we should reach out to Graham McNeil and Peachy and see if they'll come on. And I think we all thought, they'll never get back to us.
Know you, your email got lost in like spam or something like that.
Aye, and Graham McNeil, I contacted him through Twitter, and he was like, I'll come on, but I need to do it on a Sunday. So that's why we did a Sunday show, because he's based in California. So that was really the only time that he could do it. So that's why we sometimes have them on a Sunday. Peachy and Duncan Rhodes were quite quick coming back. There's obviously there's people you've reached out to. Like I did reach out to your man Latham, and he said no, but because of Games Workshop regulations and stuff, and that's fine. But a lot of people, they just don't email you back or IM you back, or like you send them a message, and it's one of those Instagram accounts where it says you can only send one message and you're waiting for them.
You're waiting.
Message, and, like, they'll never read that message. Yeah. But most people, like most of the big names, like we've had quite good response. You get anything to that, Casey?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me is like when Dunk suggested it, I was like, okay, I'll come on, not knowing what I was getting myself in for. Yeah. And yeah, we've been going. What is it now? Like 8 months.
and we're still going strong. I sort of agree with Dunk. Like, it's a bit of a pain in the arse when you do message some of the, I don't want to say big names, but like you can contact like some amazing painters out there who've got like 200-300 followers, and they're just like, why do you want to speak to me? And you're saying to them, like, because you're fucking sick, bruv. You know, you do some amazing stuff. Yeah, let's get you out there a bit. And then someone who's got like 20,000 followers who's just more interested in taking fucking selfies of himself rather than posting minis, you message them and they ghost you. And it's like, and so you're just more interested in yourself than actually, you know, promoting the decency of a hobby we all are involved with.
100%.
I tell you, the biggest thing I think was a bit, I don't want to call it rejection as such, but it was a fucking annoyance, was one guest we only had on for 30 minutes because they were double booked.
Really? That's bad.
Yeah. And it's like, come on, we've been messaging you for ages. You knew what the scam was. Why are you going to drop that on us in the middle of a video?
No.
That felt like a slap in the face.
The thing is, you're for that coming up. You know what I mean? You've got, like, I don't know how you guys prep questions and then kind of go on the spot, but you've got the individuals to do your kind of content creation before that and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work put behind the scenes, and then for him to come and be like, I'll be here for half an hour and then I need to go. That's a bit disrespectful to use.
And we've learned a lot through that as well, like, because like I was messaging people like a few days before, but it then got me into the habit of messaging them that day as well to make sure that they could still come on. So we have learned a lot through that experience as well. Like, I was actually looking forward to having that person on, and then you could actually see at the point where they were getting told that they had to go, you could actually, there was somebody else in the room with them at the time, and it was a bit of a slap in the face, because it was like, I was messaging you during the day. Like, you knew that you were on Wells at 7:30, and you knew the situation. 8:05 he had to go, and it's like, oh man, that was really disappointing. I
was absolutely furious.
The teeth. It was like, really?
Yeah.
You knew fine well, just kind of throwing it back in our face a wee bit, you know what I mean? Might not
be, but we're
that means stuff for you, it means stuff for your followers as well, and the people that are excited to come and actually see them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I think we've all learned something, like, because there've been people that I've asked to come on that Simon and Casey had never heard of, and obviously like, there's people that both of them have asked to come on that I've never heard of. So I think, and the reason I've asked Casey and Simon to do it with me was because I'm new to Warhammer. Like, so they've been in Warhammer since for years. Like, so I'm a Star Wars guy through and through. So for me, I needed them with me. So if you started talking about third edition, like, I'll just nod away, going, "Oh yeah, I don't even know what third edition is." Don't. Like, I think Monster, but there could have been a monster in third edition. I'm like, oh yeah, he was a bad bastard. I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Third edition, I miss it. But yeah, I think it's just been nice, like, having people on like yourself. You know, you like you say, you pushed yourself, you come out of your comfort zone for it, and it's really nice that people are willing to do that. And
I think,
you know, just actually
it was a lot more kind of informal. I mean, you were sitting and asked me about like crisp, and it wasn't like pure, okay, we've got a set instruction to follow, we need to ask this question. It's like informal, it's kind of chilled, laid back. I talk, you talk, we just kind of have a laugh and stuff. I think that's probably the other thing that I'd recommend to anybody that's thinking about joining it, would definitely be like, you don't need, there's no pressure, you know what I mean? It's just general chit chat. At the end of the day, it's not like a proper dead serious podcast where it's like, you need to ask this question, answer this question, you've got 10 minutes to answer this and stuff, you know what I mean? So that's the good thing about it. I think that's going to be one of the other reasons why I was like, oh, it's informal, it's just chatting, it's not going to be dead serious, which also kind of motivated me to come on a bit as well, you know what I mean?
Which is nice of you to tell us, because you know, we get our regulars giving us a bit of feedback every now and again. Dunk always messages the guests afterwards, but no, that's really nice of you to say that when you've come on to us, so thank you very much.
I've not been able to see you guys for the past 90 minutes or whatever it is, but hi.
Don't worry, see when we upload this, all the video, by the magic of science and witchcraft. Like, everybody will see everybody, even though we can't see anybody. Everybody will be in the video at the one time. But I can see you, but I can't see Casey, which is, I see Casey all the time anyway.
I saw Casey earlier, and then all of a sudden, black screen, but I can hear you, so that's all that matters.
I think we all had a good look up his nose at one point. I think that was like, I was like, no, that's enough.
That's a bit too close.
Yeah. I mean, I'll show you again if you want. You can see it on YouTube.
Zoomed right in.
Right up there with the boat.
That's all from me. I just want to say thanks again for coming on, Ross. Also want to thank Elements of Power and Boltstorm Wargaming for their sponsorship, and Inferno Miniatures for all the wee graphic works that he does, and my son Luke, who's our IT guy. He's not falling out with me today, so he might actually upload it within the next 2 days. Usually when he falls out with me, it's like a week or two before he uploads it, and then there's a big fight about that. So
you're in the good book, so it might get it within 2 to 3 working days.
aye. If he's not working, or if he's not playing Fallout, so
good.
It's like a real mail. I think just for me as well tonight, the last thing I want to mention is Dave Hammer on Instagram is running another one of his charity raffles. I think this time around it's an AOS Lizardman army, which is he's raffling it off for an autism charity based up in Cambridgeshire. So it's a good cause. Give him a look. It's all people's hard work, and he's just giving it away. So go check him out.
Now, I wouldn't promote this if I didn't actually buy a raffle ticket. I'm not one of those people that will promote something and then ask people to put their hand in their pocket and not actually do it myself. So I've actually bought a raffle ticket for this. I've actually spent my pocket money this month on a raffle ticket. My wife gave me 10 pence, and I went and bought a raffle ticket before.
So spend some money.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. Thanks anyway, guys, for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Good having a chat with you and stuff like that as well. And again, to anybody that's watching that's thinking about coming on, definitely recommend it. Guys are great, dead informal. You definitely have a good laugh for the 90 minutes you're on as well.
Thanks so much.
Nice one, buddy.
Man, we really appreciate it. Last words to you, Casey, to your hosting.
Last word from me is if you are watching this back later on, I have spent a lot of the time looking down rather than actually engaging with the camera. I apologise for that. I am trying to strip some really shoddily painted Uruk-hai, which have got the fattest coat of white spray on them, and I've drowned them in stuff, and I'm sitting here picking away on it, and my hands are covered in shite. So apologies if I do not look engaging. It's these bastards.
What are you using to strap them?
I use methylated spirits, which has taken off a massive chunk of it, but it's just the tiny little bits that are stuck in like crevices.
That's what I use to strap mine. I think that's brilliant, to be fair. BioStrip.
I'm a cheap bastard, so yeah.
Fair enough. That's a good excuse, I suppose.
Yeah. And on that bombshell, as they say on Top Gear, thank you very much for joining us all this evening. Ross, thank you again, mate. And we will catch. Oh, we do not have one next week because of scheduling conflicts with me, so apologies. If Dunk does get something sorted out, though, I'm pretty sure he will post up what he's up to.
Yeah, we'll try and get something sorted for next Wednesday. And we've also got Green Mank a week on Sunday as well.
Yes. Lovely stuff. Cool. Right. Cheerio, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. End video.